Hi guys, this is Daryl and welcome back to Book Odyssey. Today I'm going to be ranking my 10 favourite characters from sci-fi literature. So starting from 10 and working up to my favourite at number 1 is Offred from The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Offred is the main protagonist of The Handmaid's Tale. She is a woman in her 30s who is forced to work as a handmaid, a woman whose sole purpose is to bear children in the Republic of Gilead, which is the totalitarian neo-puritanical regime that has taken over most of the continental United States of America. Offred recounts her life before, during and after the creation of Gilead. The Handmaid's Tale is one of those stories that stayed with me for a long time after reading, and a lot of that was because of this character. Because Offred is the narrator, we are told the entire story from her point of view, experiencing events and memories as vividly as she does, and this contributes to our direct relationship with her. She is a flawed person, which makes her relatable and only seemed to make what was happening to her even worse. What I like about Offred is that although she's the protagonist, she's not the hero. There is no hero in this story. Although she resists the Gilead regime, she only does this inwardly. Outwardly, she submits because there is simply no other choice. She knows there's a resistance group, but she is never bold enough to join it. She is simply an ordinary woman with ordinary human flaws who wants to survive, and through her vivid narrative we get to experience a piece of what this feels like. She also possesses a wry sense of humour that makes her descriptions of the bleak horrors of Gilead almost enjoyable to read in places. Next on my list at number 9 I have Mina Gladstone from Hyperion and the Fall of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. Mina Gladstone is the head of the Senate of the Hegemony of Man, which is essentially the government, except that it spans the whole galaxy during the events of Dan Simmons' Hyperion and the Fall of Hyperion. What quickly becomes apparent about Mina Gladstone is that she's a politician to the core, and not only that, she might just be a little bit of a sociopath too, given that she makes decisions every day that affect the lives of billions, not always in a good way, and she does this unfalteringly, because she believes it's for the greater good. She pulls the strings of everyone right from the beginning, and for a lot of the time we don't know this, or if some readers manage to figure it out, we're not entirely certain why. What becomes clear though is that she is playing everyone expertly, like they're all musical instruments in her very own orchestra. Whether we interpret her actions as perverted self-interest or for the good of humanity, the thing that puts Mina Gladstone at number 9 on my list is the fact that I love strong, flawed female characters in positions of power. There is nothing about that equation that leads to boring. And number 8 on my list is Lena from Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Lena Crown represents the epitome of society in Brave New World, a dystopian society that uses conditioning technologies and drugs to control reproduction among the population and control citizens' actions. Lena is attractive and, like all good citizens, is sexually uninhibited. She's occupied only by the material things around her and the hedonism that the citizens are all encouraged to pursue. She could most definitely be labelled as shallow because she can only think of sex and can't understand emotion when it comes to her interactions with other people. It's because of this I think a lot of people react with contempt towards Lena, but for me she's a character that evokes a sense of immense pity. When Lena is finally denied her sexual impulses by John, she is forced to think beyond anything she has before. This causes her a great deal of distress, and it's suggested to the reader that Lena might actually feel something akin to love for this man. Whatever she feels, it goes against her conditioning, and this causes her even more distress. We see a sort of partial awakening in her, where she starts to become aware that she's missing some vital part of herself that will prevent her from understanding the depth of emotion that John feels, but there's nothing she can do about it. She is powerless because she's been conditioned so completely. Next I have Takeshikovach from Richard Morgan's Altered Carbon. Takeshikovach to me will always be the ultimate anti-hero. In a world where human consciousness can be digitized and where human bodies have been reduced to sleeves, which are interchangeable vessels for minds to be uploaded to, he is the product of his time and of a violent childhood. Kovach is a sole surviving soldier from a group of elite warriors whose mind was imprisoned for centuries before being brought back to life in a new sleeve. He's the type of complicated character I can get emotionally invested in, even when he's doing really violent things. It's only after that you try to think about why you care and what his redeeming qualities are do you realise he doesn't actually have any, but you like him all the same. Is it just me, or does anyone else just want to hug him? For me, this character is at his best when he is at his absolute worst. The next character I have is Isley from Michael Faber's Under the Skin. Set in northern Scotland, Under the Skin follows Isley, an extraterrestrial manifesting in human form, as she drives around the Scottish countryside, picking up male hitchhikers whom she drugs to be delivered back to her home planet as meat, after being mutilated and fattened. Isley is again one of those characters that is so layered and complex that even though I should be disgusted by what she's doing, I feel pity for her, for the majority of the book anyway, and even at times I root for her. Isley flips the cliche of the dangerous hitchhiker and the helpless lone woman driver on its head in a way that is seriously twisted. She is not a victim to be taken advantage of by the potential danger of picking up a hitchhiker. She is, in fact, for the most part, the predator. But despite this, she has a softer, vulnerable side, which really endeared her to me and made her one of the most interesting character concepts I've read. The next character I have is Sunmi from David Mitchell's Cloud Atlas. So Cloud Atlas is a bit of a genre-crossing literary event, and amid stories that run throughout the book is the tale called An Orison of Sunmi 451. In the far future, corporations govern what is left of Korea. Fabricants, or clones, are the primary workforce, providing services to the consumer-driven culture. Sunmi 451, the main character, is a female fabricant at Papa's Songs, one of the largest restaurant corporations. Fabricants are people grown in labs for the sole purpose of providing slave labour. After her fellow fabricant friend is killed for acting like a consumer, Sunmi 451 begins questioning the role of fabricants and comes to the realisation they are nothing more than slaves to corpocracy. An underground abolitionist group called Union enlists her help to open the eyes of all regarding the unjust social structure of their culture. This particular arc in Cloud Atlas is poignant and laden with allegory. We travel with Sunmi as she tells her story from servile fabricant to a figure strong enough to lead a rebellion with her inspiring philosophy. Number 4 on my list is Estraven from Ursula Le Guin's Left Hand of Darkness. The Left Hand of Darkness tells the story of a lone human emissary to Winter, an alien world whose inhabitants can choose and change their gender. The emissary's goal is to facilitate Winter's inclusion in a growing intergalactic civilization. But to do so, he must bridge the gulf between his own views and those of the completely dissimilar culture that he encounters. Quite a rare thing to find in the genre of sci-fi, The Left Hand of Darkness is more an emotional journey with a science fiction setting. Central to this journey is the emissary's relationship with the alien named Estraven. Estraven starts off as Prime Minister of a country on Winter, but ends up being exiled as a disgraced traitor. In exile, Estraven follows the emissary, protecting him as best he can as he tries to fulfill his mission, because Estraven sees beyond his own exile and is trying to do what's best for Winter. Their journey leads them to a remote glacier where they must travel 840 miles of inhospitable, wintry wasteland. Estraven serves as the story's mentor character, the one who teaches the emissary what he needs to know to survive the perils of winter. My third favourite character from sci-fi literature is Charlie from Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. Charlie. Oh, Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. Reading through the eyes of Charlie is one of the most heartbreaking literary experiences I think anyone can endure. Flowers for Algernon follows Charlie Gordon, a 32-year-old developmentally challenged man who has the opportunity to undergo a surgical procedure that will increase his mental capabilities. This procedure has already been performed on a laboratory mouse, Algernon, with extraordinary results, and it sees Charlie's intelligence increase to genius levels. This spike in intelligence isn't what Charlie expects, however, as he is now able to recall with greater understanding the past events that has shaped his life. He can now analyse relationships with family and friends, seeing them in a different light. What the surgery could neither correct nor anticipate, however, is Charlie's emotional intelligence. The pre-smart Charlie is eager to please everyone around him and wants nothing more in life than to be smart. But the reason for this is because he thinks it will make people like him more. The irony is that as a genius he has difficulty making new friends and establishing new relationships due to a lack of social intelligence. For me, Charlie is a complex character, but he's also a character that pulled on my empathy in ways I did not expect, and became someone, as a self-confessed introvert, I can relate to in a number of ways. Number 2 on my list is the Lady Jessica from Frank Herbert's Dune. The Lady Jessica reminds me of a wolf mother, in that she's fiercely protective of her son Paul and will do anything to keep him alive, even sacrificing herself. Dune is set in the distant future amidst a feudal interstellar society in which noble houses in control of individual planets owe allegiance to the Padishah Emperor. It follows young Paul Atreides as his family accepts the stewardship of the desert planet Arrakis, home to the only source of the spice melange, the most important and valuable substance in the universe. The Lady Jessica is a member of the Bene Gesserit, a powerful and ancient order of women whose objectives and actions formed a critical element in the evolution of humanity and many of the major plot developments. Jessica was for me the standout character in Dune. Throughout the novel, she fights to maintain power in a male-dominated society and sees her sole purpose as helping her son at key moments in his rise to power. She in herself is a strong, formidable character, being a member of the Bene Gesserit and privy to the knowledge and training that brings. Jessica, while on the surface might appear cold, she shows a ferocious love and protectiveness for her son, which is endearing and central to the book. As I've said many times in many videos, as you can see from this list even, I love strong female characters in sci-fi, something I would like to see more of. Particular older female characters. While Jessica is not the protagonist of Dune, her story is just as important as her son's, and we see through their journey a coming-of-age story for Jessica, as well as Paul. So my number 1 favourite character from a science fiction book is the character Manmud from Dan Simmons' Ilium and Olympus. Ilium is an epic tale that spans 5,000 years and sweeps across the entire solar system, including themes and characters from Homer's The Iliad and Shakespeare's The Tempest. In the distant future, Manmud is a Moravec, an autonomous, sentient, self-evolving biomechanical organism that dwells on the Jovian moons. The Moravecs were sealed throughout the solar system by humans during the Lost Age, and most Moravecs are self-described humanists, studying Lost Age culture including literature, TV, films and music. Manmud is a Shakespeare fanatic, and he often spends his time debating Shakespeare and Proust with his friend and fellow Moravec Orphu of Io, when they're not mining the seas of Europa or flying around the Jupiter system. Manmud's part of the story arc sees him as I say him but he's in fact genderless, descends on Mars to look for the post-humans, a race of superhuman godlike beings who appear to be very much like the Olympian gods of ancient Greece. What I love about Manmud is firstly an appreciation of him, the Moravecs generally, on a concept basis. Not for the first time, Simmons blew my mind. What I also love about Manmud is the fact that he is a character with so many contradictions and in so many ways breaks free of cliches and stereotypes. Despite being essentially a small, agile robot with a job to perform, he is complex, interesting, relatable and likeable. He is, in many ways, more human than the humans themselves in this future. I wonder if it says something about me that my favourite character was a robot. What do you think, BookBot 5000?
It shows you recognize your evolutionary overlords. Meet Monkey.
Oh, BookBot. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button if you did, and also subscribe for more videos from me on all things sci-fi and fantasy. Until next time guys, happy reading.